shoot. Michael, I'm so sorry. Can you just, could you just do a quick roll call and then do the minutes, just so that we approve the minutes and then move into this? I'm sorry about that. Should take about 2 minutes, hopefully. Where did Michael go? Is he there?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. I'm going to just do a quick overview of what occurred because we did not record. The meeting was called to order at 7:03 p.m. by Chairman Soares. And then Chairman Soares moved to approve the minutes from your April 20th meeting. And Quentin Kessel seconded that, and it was approved unanimously. The application of J. Dewey at BL Companies for the Storrs Road and Middle Turnpike redevelopment or mixed use development was tabled until your next meeting. And now we've moved on to the in-ground swimming pool at 514 Chafeeville Road, and the applicant's representative, Eric Levesque from Juliana's Pools, gave a brief overview of the pool. And Eric, could you just please summarize the dimensions?
Of course. So we're looking to do the excavation of a 22 by 36 mountain pond custom pool, 8 feet deep.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully, can you all see this aerial photo?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So this is Chafeeville Road. This is part of a subdivision, and it's a part of a long shared driveway. There's an intermittent stream that kind of runs along here. And the previous owners from this property was sold over the past year, and the previous owners blocked the culvert, and they created a pond, and they did some destabilization of the banks of the intermittent water course, and they basically created a pond. So they were issued a notice of violation. They did some restabilization, but we went out there when normally a pool would be something that I would handle administratively, but this is a little bit of a bigger project, and I wanted the Inland Wetlands Agency, with your guidance, to kind of give this a review. And I also wanted input from the Assistant Town Engineer, Derek July. The violation has, for the most part, been taken care of. The culvert is now running. The water's moving through it. The banks of this intermittent watercourse have been pretty much restabilized. They're getting there. The area right about here, because a lot of these trees were taken down because they were dead and dying, is still not quite stable. So that will need some work. The pool is going right at the edge of this driveway, and it's hard to see from this aerial, but it's a fairly steep slope, and currently it's stabilized with some landscape fabric. So, and they are proposing to remove about 100 cubic yards of material to install the pool. The area is fairly level, but they will need to do some grading, and they're 27 feet from the edge of the wetlands. But basically, they're just a few feet from this grassed area from the slope. So I just felt like this was a little bit beyond the guidelines that the Inland Wetlands Agency had set for me in approving an application. So that's why you're looking at it. Unfortunately, we didn't have members that were able to attend the field trip. I think, after looking at this plan, I do think the major issue is going to be stabilizing the slope and making sure that it is stabilized. So I am going to get just a quick report from Derek July, who's also been at the site, just to make sure that he feels that it can be structurally, there's some structural integrity there to this area, and that without a retaining wall, because they are not proposing a retaining wall, it will remain stable. So those are my issues, and I just felt like it was a bigger application other than some of your normal run-of-the-mill in-ground pools. So
one question.
Yeah.
Yeah, the applicant submitted a plan, and on the plan, it says proposed buildings, and I see that there's some differences between the proposed building and proposed driveway from what is there. And what I'm wondering about is why not on the other side of the driveway, which, doesn't seem to have a septic system, at least in the proposed plan.
Right, so this site, this is basically, if they're gonna have a pool, this is the only location it can go. There's all sorts of, in terms of, there's the front yard setbacks, that there's the side yard setbacks, they have a BAE and GAE. Let me just pull up their site plan that kind of shows that. So the septic system is I think the septic system is built as shown on this plan. Then they have their well, and then the way the BAE and the GAE are, this really is the only location. And so it's a fairly large site, but there's not, I think they're gonna have even trouble with putting in a gazebo for this pool. So basically we worked, Jillian and I worked together to kind of look to see where the location, if this met the zoning regulations, and this does, it just happens to be fairly close to wetlands.
Jennifer, just for everybody's understanding, BAE is building area envelope.
Yes, the
right?
building area envelope. For a subdivision, you have the building area envelope, which is where any structures can go. And then you have the development area envelope, which is places like where septic, a driveway, and other kind of accessory things can be placed.
Is that DAE sort of based on the setbacks that we have in our zoning, from like side setbacks, rear setbacks, or it's a
Yeah,
different?
but with a subdivision, you can alter those. So it varies by subdivision to subdivision.
Okay, thanks. Well, thank you for that summary of how we've gotten to this point. Mr. Levesque, if I could ask about the 27-foot distance, what is that? The 27 feet is from the edge of wetlands to what part of the project?
The actual water's edge of the pool. So there will be patio beyond it on that side, which, because of what we're dealing with, 2 to 3 feet on that side.
Right, so that I wanted to get to that point, because I know that there will be disturbance even closer, because you'll have to have equipment for backfilling and the sidewalk and things of that nature on that side. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, to install the pool, I'll probably, around the actual body of water, I'll probably need a 10-foot area to be able to work around it.
Okay, so our proximity to wetlands is more like 17 feet, if I'm understanding you.
So for the construction of the pool, yes, but in the end, no, probably end of patio 24 feet away from,
Okay,
plus whatever slope connecting from end of patio to the existing grade. I would say maybe 4 or 5 feet away from stream, or however I can finalize the grading on that backside. A lot of times it's because we were talking about erosion and how we can prevent it. I mean, some towns are okay with like a wild grass seed mix. Some towns like a riprap stone, almost like an aggressive slope, and then just leave, X amount of a buffer from the stream, to the toe of that future slope. If this makes any sense, but I'm really whatever you guys feel would be the right thing to do is what we would do.
can we just go, I just want to make sure I understand. So if the edge of the pool is 27 feet away, how much area away from that pool edge will be disturbed just to do the work? You said about 10 feet? Or
I guess what are the limits of the development, Eric?
Yeah, what's the limit of your, so what's the sort of, how you won't go any farther than X feet from the pool, I'm not saying it correctly either.
10 to 12 feet.
Thank you, okay.
10 to 12 feet from wetlands.
Waters.
Wetland.
of pool towards stream or brook, whatever it is.
So 15 feet from wetlands.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And Jennifer, can you tell me again why it can't be nestled in on the other side of the driveway?
Because of where the septic system and the setbacks are.
Well, you showed the septic system fairly far away.
Yeah, I do think though there is a, I do think that there's a setback from this. Right. I think what as I'm looking at this and doing I haven't really started my review on this, but I think we're going to need a better site plan with where the septic is to see if there is the ability to put it a little bit further away from wetlands, just to make sure that there are no other feasible alternatives. But my
Jennifer,
understanding from the health department and from Jolene is that it's not an option to put it here.
I'd like that to be provided in a more quantitative fashion. A map with distances and what the, well, so you or someone said that this is the only alternative, and I'm inclined to think if this is the only alternative, I'll vote against it.
And what about in the back of the house? You know, it's just, I'm looking at the contours and they're the same in the back of the house as they are on that side. So I'm just wondering what,
The property that goes uphill in the back though, John. So
Yeah.
Actually, no, I had 2 owners ago was same as my family. We were in that property a bunch of times. I do know it well, although I wasn't there the other day when the most recent. Is a suggestion that the proposed well and the proposed sewer might have ended up in a different spot?
You mean for the as-built?
Yeah, I mean, everything says proposed here.
Yes, this, Eric, is this do you know if this is the as-built? It's fairly, if you look at the,
I don't think so.
I think it's slightly off, but, you look at the,
well, you can see the driveways are rather different.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah, I think the driveway is closer to the wetland, actually. The one on the site plan kind of flares out a little bit,
Yeah.
but yeah, but I think it is fairly close, actually.
I mean, I don't know if we need a site plan
We don't need an engineered site plan, we just need the as-built.
or just an accurately depicted sketch of the site with accurate locations of the well and septic and accurate measurements as to the size of the pool and its proximity to the wetland. And just regarding that wetland line, I would say that proposed site plan looks pretty old. And if there were significant modifications done under that violation, there's a small chance, but Jen, you've been there, there's a small chance that the wetland line is not where it used to be. And so there seems to be a need to tighten up this plan a little bit. And I wouldn't feel as necessary to do that with most locations, but I think how close it is, and also it being an in-ground pool, we're talking about a fair amount of disturbance. And with that proximity, I don't see how we're not going to, there won't have to be excavation into soils that are definitely holding groundwater in the water table. It's an 8-foot deep pool, is that correct?
It is.
Yeah, so we're only about 4 feet maybe above the surface of the wetland here. So going down 8 feet, we're definitely going to get into the groundwater that's associated with that wetland. So there's a number of reasons why a more accurate site plan would be helpful.
Eric, you and I can work on that.
Another thing I'd like to hear from Eric is when you backflow and clean the filters, where will that essentially polluted water go?
So we don't have backwash systems anymore. It's just, it's called like a DE cartridge filter. So maybe twice a year, that cartridge has to be taken out of the filter and hosed down, meaning just the DE and whatever debris from the world made it into that filter. We've had to, in certain towns, give specific spots where that could be hosed down, but most of the time, if we hose down this cartridge and get rid of the DE that's collected on it and whatever earth material, none of that stuff is dangerous for the world. So it's never really been a problem in terms of cleaning that cartridge out wherever on the property. But certainly open if you wanted, I know it'd be impossible to keep track of it, but a specific spot possibly to clean that filter out.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions or comments?
Well, I have a question about the mention of the steep slope and that no riprap or a retaining wall is being suggested. And I wondered why is that? Why is it thought that's not needed?
The retaining wall?
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's absolutely needed. So there's aggressive landscape slopes that could be just as good as a retaining wall. If for some reason, in order to get the pool in, you wanted a retaining wall in that area, that way the slope that connected from end of patio down towards the brook didn't exceed too much towards the brook. We just had a straight up and down retaining wall and then left that area alone. We can certainly do stuff like that. Just for now, always trying to keep budget in mind for the customer. Retaining wall was not the first option.
Yeah. No, I'm not suggesting. I just want to know what the thought process was.
Jennifer, what is that location covered by right now? Is it turf grass and
It has
the
some
repair
landscape
from
fabric and it's seeded and has some other, not grass, but plants. I don't, maybe some like wild ornamental grasses. I can't remember though exactly.
Okay. No trees or things like that.
No. That area was destabilized during the violation, so it's just
Okay.
coming back up.
Any other questions or comments?
We should make a motion.
Go for it.
I move it may have, and this dumps it into the hands of IWA. I move it may have a significant negative impact on the wetlands.
Do you have specific impacts or a way to itemize that?
Because of the construction is required within the regulated area.
Okay. Yeah, I would, yeah, well, we're not only in the regulated area within, we have excavation and grading within 20 feet and maybe even perhaps within, well, maybe not within 15 feet, but within 20 feet. The slope is a bit of a concern to me. I would also say I don't know if we specifically get into groundwater concerns. That's in the charge of the IWA. Certainly, I think groundwater, it's not.
Well, I mean, in the fact that a groundwater may be feeding the wetland system. So.
Right, that's right. So excavating into an area that's very likely to encounter groundwater that is associated with that wetland is another potential for a significant impact.
Agreed. And groundwater is definitely within our purview.
Well, my two
And the only,
cents to add to that are the area that's not fully restabilized, as Jennifer said.
Can you say that again, Meg?
That their area is not even fully restabilized yet.
That is a concern?
Mhm.
Okay. Well, in terms of
And
I guess in
mine-
terms of the proposed work, we want to list concerns about the proposed work. So are you concerned about the existing slope or the slope when the work would be completed?
Well, both, just working in an environment that's already seems to be tenuous, reestablishing.
Okay.
Yeah.
John, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say that it's not clear why other alternatives are ruled out in this particular case. We don't have enough information, and it's, it certainly may be that the information can be provided, that there are no other sites that can be done, but it's not entirely clear why other locations are ruled out.
That's a good, yeah, we can add that as another comment under our comments or in our minutes, that the existing depiction is based on an older proposed and not an as-built plan. And so it's hard to understand the location of certain features of the property.
The Giuliano's truck has been out there at least a week, 2 weeks ago. Has any of this work actually commenced?
No, no work has started.
As of July 13th, no work has been started.
So I think we added, or we fleshed out Quentin's motion a bit. Does
Right.
anybody?
Without a second.
Well, but I would like, yeah, someone needs to, I think if I could share my screen, because I want to make sure I'm putting this in your words and not mine.
Just to be clear before you do it, Jennifer, so this motion that Quentin has proposed, we wouldn't get any revised plans back, right? These are just would be our comments, and then the IWA would get the new
Yeah,
plans. We wouldn't,
unless they wanted to re-refer them out to you.
if we wanted to provide suggestions, if this project were to move forward in the current proposal, like we should probably suggest ways to minimize impact if it does move forward as proposed, right?
Correct, because I think the IWA most likely, that's not their practice, is to refer this back to you. They would, yeah, so. So far I have, and forgive me if there are typos, Kessel moved that the activities may have a significant impact to the on the wetlands due to the level of disturbance in close proximity to the wetlands. That needs to be cleaned up, but I can clean, yeah. In addition, members express that the activities adjacent to the slope may cause erosion and sedimentation. Members express the need to see a more accurate site plan depicting the edge of wetlands, well septic system, to determine if there is a more feasible and prudent alternative.
I think that's great. Who needs Will as a secretary?
You mean Chad? I do.
Chad. That's-
Can in lieu of close proximity, can we say within 20 feet of wetlands
Yep.
to be accurate?
Yeah.
Or specific?
Do we need, oh, sorry, you finished.
And if we can, I would like to just include the concern, unless others disagree, about we're excavating into the entire footprint of that pool, I believe, will engage groundwater. And so we're talking about a significant amount of
Displacement.
surface disturbance with erosion and sedimentation, and potential, certainly interacting in a significant way with the groundwater. It's hard for me to assess if that's going to have an impact, but it certainly increases the likelihood of impacts.
And can I just say that a silt fence was proposed, that's what we're looking at now. Do we have to say that we express that the activities adjacent to the slope may cause more excessive erosion and
Yeah.
sedimentation than
Yes.
can be dealt with a standard silt fence or something like that? It's tough to know for sure, but that's kind of what I think we're saying.
All right, Michael, what are you trying to say here? Further, more information about the groundwater interaction with the groundwater?
If more information is needed, it's just
I mean, you've not been out on site, so what we've got to get someone out there to provide that information, right? We don't, if that's a concern, the agency would need to read that, otherwise they would not be able to determine, right? If
Yeah.
there's,
Well, as from the map I saw, it's pretty clear that the groundwater would be flowing, you know, basically from the house and garage down to that stream.
Yeah, I mean, if the brook is only 5 feet below that driveway or 6 feet below that driveway, and we're going closer and going down 8 feet, I mean, there's definitely going to be there's definitely going to be an interaction with groundwater. We could say it's furthermore, it's likely that the excavation of the pool's entire footprint will interact with groundwater that's associated with the adjacent wetland, and that will increase the likelihood of interacting with that groundwater is going to increase the likelihood of impacts to the wetland.
all right, you need to
Or-
slow down and tell me which way. Right here,
I have a quick question. Did the site plan show elevations?
yes.
Can we
It
just
has.
check it right now?
I mean, that's what I was trying to do right now, James.
Yeah, I did that beforehand. It's, again, we're also dealing with
Well,
The-
the elevations are fairly, I would say they're fairly accurate. They should be 2-foot contours.
Yeah, it does look like the center of that pool is only 2 contours, so 4 feet away from the edge of the wetland. Or
So maybe we could say that. Furthermore, from the site plan submitted, it appears that the surface of the pool, it appears that an 8-foot excavation is going to go down 4 feet below the surface of the wetland, and groundwater will be encountered. That's too wordy.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it's likely that excavation of the pool will encounter the groundwater that is associated with this wetland. And that may also lead to impacts or adverse impacts, significant impacts.
Is safe to say encounter and interact with the groundwater that is associated.
So I think you're saying that after encounter would say encounter and interact.
Yeah.
And rather than
Interact with.
rather than excavation, which is a temporary thing, just the presence, the existence. of
The construction of the pool, right?
Well, no,
Well, you could say the, you could say
construction
the,
is short term.
The excavation and placement,
why don't you just say the
Yep.
8-foot depth of the pool?
I like the excavation and placement of the pool.
Okay,
I just have one quick note. So if I'm reading this map right, the dashed lines, the contours are actually 4-foot contours, right? Not 2 foot?
no,
They're 2 foot?
They're twos,
Okay.
yeah.
Because I see 380 to 400 with 5 ticks in between.
I'm pretty sure they're 2.
it's a 390.
Yeah, it's a 90.
Got it, sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah, the one on the upper right does look like an 8. You can see that.
Thanks, Jen. So yes, that sounds good to me. I think we can delete that segment that's below in the next paragraph and then start with the word members. Yeah, I think that captures. So now to Aaron's point, do we want to include some recommendations here on what we think can resolve the concerns that are in the first part of this motion? Aaron, did you have anything specific in mind when you brought that up?
No. I don't really, I don't know, this isn't my area, I guess, I'm still kind of learning, but.
Well, sorry, our duty is to advise IWA, and it's up to the applicant to solve any problems.
Well, I guess my concern was that, like, we can make these recommendations to the IWA and then they would turn around and say that there's no other options, so let's move forward and not really address the concerns.
Well, the main option is the no build option.
I just don't know that they'll see it that way. I don't think they'll see it.
Or above ground pool.
We are saying that we do feel that it's.
I mean, maybe that's not our role. I guess I just was concerned that.
So, I think you could, if you want to add something about erosion and sedimentation controls, you could refer them to, the 2002, the Connecticut Deep 2002 erosion and sedimentation and control guidelines, which is kind of standard practice. And there's a number of different things that they should be using. And, you can recommend staff to, recommend that they be reviewed by the assistant town engineer or something like that. But I don't think it's not up to, I think we don't want to design something for applicants.
No, I was just looking for something that would minimize impact. I'm not looking for but what you're suggesting, Jennifer, falls within what I was thinking.
Yeah, so
I'm not aware of all the guidance that's out there. I guess.
yeah, so usually we direct people to the 2002 erosion and sedimentation deeps 2002 erosion and sedimentation guidelines.
I would say that the applicant based on what they submitted, they seem to be very aware of those guidelines and even are taking some pretty good measures in terms of like they're excavating straight into a truck. They're not stockpiling anything on site. They're using, rubber tracks and all the equipment. Like they really know how to, it sounds like they really know how to care for the site. So I'm less concerned about some of those measures and more, it's really just the tightness of the lot and that this particular location, it is on slope. There is not a lot of buffer room between the wetland and the brook and the project. It's really just the siting of it that's the most concerning, I think, to myself and others, and less. I think the ENS they seem to have covered that. It's more the challenges of the particular site that seems, if it's true, it's the only site. It's a concerning site.
So if I could say one thing. So this was the dream spot based off the situation we were in with the size pool that they wanted. I'm happy to go back to the homeowner and propose different options in terms of smaller size pool, not as deep, proving that the pool can't go anywhere else on site. And then if I go back to the homeowner with all this, and I come back to you with zero disturbance and a 20-foot buffer of that stream, is that something that could possibly be approved? Or are we going off what Quentin is saying? It's just, you don't think it's doable kind of thing?
We don't approve, just to be clear, we advise inland wetlands. So our town is unique that we get an extra level of, you're lucky, you get 2 IWA experiences practically. So we provide comments to inland wetlands agency, and they are your approving entity.
Gotcha.
So you would probably not come back to us, I would say, unless there was reason to refer you back to us. So it's hard for me to say until we would see a revised plan what but reducing disturbance, reducing that proximity, you know, those would potentially be good things.
Okay.
So I think we have a motion. I don't know if anybody wants to read it again or add to it. I think,
I'd like someone from the commission actually to read it as written to make sure that I've captured this, because as staff, I don't want to be putting words in your mouth.
sure. Sure.
Can you bring it back up?
Oh, that's a good plan.
We've memorized it already.
I'm looking at it. How come you can't see it?
I can read it. Quentin,
Well, Quentin, does Quentin want to read it? Since
oh,
he-
yeah,
or
Quentin, go
does-
ahead.
does Ken- since he-
Only if there's a second to the motion.
Well, you have to move it before they, we know if
Well,
there's a second.
Okay, I move that the activities may have a significant impact on the wetlands due to the level of disturbance within 20 feet of the wetlands. In addition, members expressed that the activities adjacent to the slope may cause erosion and sedimentation. Further, it is likely that the excavation and placement of the pool will encounter and interact with the groundwater that is associated with the wetland, causing potential adverse impacts to the watercourse. Members advise the applicant to submit a more accurate site plan depicting, oh, my motion is changing.
I don't like the way it's.
Members advise the applicant to submit a more accurate plan depicting the edge of the wetlands, well and septic systems, and to determine if there's a more feasible or prudent alternative, and to ensure that appropriate erosion and sedimentation controls are being implemented.
How about
Somebody seconded?
I have to make some friendly, I don't know, I'm not as good as Chad at this.
I can't do it in a meeting, Jennifer. So you're
No,
way
nobody
beyond my
is.
skill level. I cannot do it. Can we have a second on Quentin's motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Meg.
I did make the friendly amendment that I did, it's associated with the wetlands and watercourses causing potential adverse impacts, because there are just too many wetlands in that sentence.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Yep.
Eric, the last thing I would say was I believe I saw in the application that it says that the site is not within the natural diversity database areas. But just looking on our town website, it looks like the project is within one of those areas. That usually triggers, I don't believe it's mandatory, but I think our Inland Wetland Agency will be happier if you submit a NDDB review request, DEP, regarding the site. And it's basically what they're doing is they're reviewing your project area for potential endangered or listed threatened species. And if there's none, they'll say there's none and you can move forward. If there are some, then they'll send a longer letter kind of articulating some recommendations on how to minimize impacts to those species or their habitats. So it's called an NDDB review request. And that's a,
we can talk about, I can
Yeah,
get
okay.
that to you, yeah.
Thanks for catching.
Who seconded this motion?
Meg.
Meg Harper.
And did you vote? It's unanimous or?
Yeah, if we have any opposition, please speak up now.
Well, I think what you just mentioned, Michael, should be stated in the motion.
Say that again. I didn't hear you, Aaron.
I think that we should state that in the motion, that it's actually in an NDDB area, which is not what's written in the application.
You're right. That's correct. Jen, could you
Friendly,
add-
a very friendly amendment.
the site is look, yeah, even the application says it's not, but the site is located within an NDDB area, and a review request should be submitted. Okay. Now, if anybody is in opposition to our many revised motion, speak up. Otherwise, I will assume we will take this as a unanimous vote. Any opposition? Speak now. Okay. Eric, thank you. I do feel like, based on your description, that you are really trying to do the best in terms of ENS and control material on site. So I appreciate all that effort. It looks like your company's experience doing this, really pays off. It's just the concerns about this particular location, and but I do see that you guys are making every best effort in general on reducing impacts.
We are, yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, if we can move on to our next item. This is item 5D, which is application W1628, application, oh no, I'm sorry. Application W1614-2, application of the Standard of Four Corners LLC for regulated activities associated with the construction of sidewalk extensions to western and eastern property lines on two parcels at 1717 and 1753 Stores Road. Do we have a representative
Hi,
from the?
Yes, we do.
Hi.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. I'm on a different setup tonight. So I'm Sarah Sharp. I'm attorney with offices at 147 North Broad Street in Milford. Here on behalf of the applicant, the Standard at Four Corners, and I'm joined by our project engineer, Jeff Ford, and our representative with the developer, Chase Powell, to answer any questions once we get sort of oriented to this project. It may seem familiar to you because it's sort of a companion application to the mixed-use development project that was approved by the Planning and Zoning earlier this year. And this is an application to extend the sidewalks to the east and western property lines. That was one of our conditions of approval for our special permit approval. And so we're just fulfilling that condition by coming before you with this inland wetlands application. It's in both scenarios, we've thought to locate the sidewalk at a place where it's the narrowest crossing or is likely to have the least possible impact on the wetlands that are located on the borders of these properties. And so I'm going to turn it over to Jeff to sort of walk you through the plan, and then we can come back with any questions. So I'm going to share my screen right now so that we can go through that now.
Good evening. While she's opening that up here, my name is Jeff Ford, professional engineer in the state of Connecticut with Bowler Engineering at 65 LaSalle Road in West Hartford, Connecticut. As Sarah had alluded to, this is basically a function of our special permit conditions of approval. So if you recall, what you're seeing here on the side is the western portion of our project, which was the 7-building mixed-use development. We had ended our sidewalk basically just to the left of the pump station driveway. And part of what came up during our conditions of approval was to extend it another 80 feet or so to the extent of the property line. Now that falls within a DOT right-of-way, so that will be subject to encroachment permit review. But Derek Delage and a few of the town officials did go out there, felt a sidewalk could be designed in that location. So that's exactly what we did. So it's an ADA compliant 5-foot wide concrete sidewalk. It's only 425 square feet that we're introducing. And part of the grading challenge is there's an existing culvert that's there that comes across Stores Road that we're looking to maintain. And what that does is provides a 3.5-foot high retaining wall with a fence on top just for fall protection. So that's basically the western sidewalk. It's just that 80 feet of additional sidewalk from what you've previously seen. The plans from the first time you guys saw this, probably a year or two ago now, have largely remained unchanged as far as stormwater and design goes. A lot of the building configuration stayed the same. So it's really just these extensions of sidewalks to satisfy that special permit condition. As you head over to the eastern side, it's more interesting in the sense that when we worked with inland wetlands, and I believe your commission here, one of the things that was brought up was the sidewalk within the right of way and the limits of that sidewalk. There's about 300 to 400 linear feet of wetlands between our property line and that curb line. And that was something where we weren't going to propose a sidewalk basically in the DOT right of way. And one of the recommendations that came up throughout the permitting process was to ask us permission basically to have a sidewalk come into our property and cross at the narrowest point of that wetlands. And that created a couple of challenges, one of which being we have to provide an easement to the town for that sidewalk, which Landmark is amenable to doing. The second challenge, which I think we've worked through pretty well, is we've actually coordinated with, I think, the first item on your agenda this evening that was tabled until August. We worked with that developer's engineer, have shared plans with them so they know exactly where our sidewalk is connecting along their property line, to basically provide the least amount of wetland disturbance possible, not only for our application, but for theirs as well. And they saw this location basically as you cross that stream with a pedestrian bridge that's about 2 feet above the wetlands. We ended up splitting the difference between the two wetland limits to the left and right of that sidewalk. And that's how we established where we placed this. And then we just ensured from their development that they can pick that sidewalk up exactly where we're hitting their property line. And I believe what you guys will see come August or when this starts to go through is that their line will match exactly where our sidewalk is to provide connectivity to the corner. So that was the main goal here, was to basically provide that connection to the Four Corners area. And that was fully coordinated with those folks next door. So that's the gist of it. I think the sidewalk on this side, it ended at the corner of the building there, on the top left of that viewport. And the intent was that when that development to the east went forward, we would make the connection at that time. But the way the conditions were written was that that was part of this basically approval process and our construction now. So we went ahead and fully designed it. I'd be happy to answer any questions. That's basically it. We did add erosion and sediment control measures similar to when you guys first saw this. So they'll be in accordance to the 2002 erosion and sediment control guidelines. So we have silt fence, silt socks in addition to silt fence, and then we have inlet protection on any of the inlets within proximity to the new sidewalk extensions. But everything else remains the same: drainage patterns, stormwater, everything. So unless anyone has any questions, I'll wrap up here and turn it back over to Sarah.
Jeff, just really quick on the bridge itself, it looks like from your plan that it's a span from abutment to abutment and has no pillars or posts in the wetland itself. Is that right?
That's correct. So it's a 50-foot basically span bridge. So there'll be no permanent impacts to the wetland in that location, just the temporary for the installation of either side of that bridge. But the intent was to cross at the narrowest point and then span that section.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And you have a picture of the bridge as well, or at least a mock-up. Is that what it's going to look like? And what is the what's the structure of the bridge? Is
So
that,
we
a wood or concrete, or what is that?
Yeah, so we had shown an option for wood or steel. We have a note on there, or approved equal. The goal being is that once we get into our construction documents, that detail will be incorporated and sent in for that building permit review to the town. But right now it was open-ended as far as what that material would be. Ideally, at the end of the day, from a grading standpoint, it just has to serve the purpose of spanning that without permanently impacting those wetlands and staying the grading that we showed on that plan. I believe we had 2 feet above the water line or above the wetland limits there. So it's steel or wood, I would say.
And the width of the path on the bridge? Is it
I
4
believe
foot or?
Yeah, I believe it was 5 foot to match the sidewalk.
Okay.
Are the bridge abutments there, or what's holding the bank up, as it spans?
So there'll be concrete foundations on either end of the bridge. And then the span itself, I believe we limited it where we were able to cross was only, I believe, 40 feet in width or 35 feet in width. So we extended beyond those limits to avoid any direct impact. So there'll just be concrete foundations on either side of that bridge.
Any other comments or questions?
I'm impressed with what they're doing.
I agree.
It's a good response to some of our questions.
Are you making another motion, Quentin?
No,
Would anybody like to make a motion on this in terms of its likelihood or not for impacts? I'm sorry, Sarah, did you have more you wanted to say before we jump into our discussion? No, okay, sorry.
No, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I'll make a motion that it's from the plans we're seeing, it's likely that the sidewalks as proposed are not likely to have a significant impact on wetlands and are an improvement on the overall design of the site and its connectivity to other parcels or other neighborhoods in the area.
Just looking at the site plan, there is some recontouring that does occur on that. You can see that. I'm not sure what the plan for stabilization of that is.
Yes,
Right.
so similar to anywhere we have 3-to-1 slopes, there'll be slope stabilization on those corners. Those were 3-to-1. Typically, only when we go to 2-to-1 slopes, we'll do permanent slope stabilization. But certainly during construction until that is stabilized, we have the double redundancy. I think originally we just had silt fence, and then working with Land Tech and working with some of the other consultants and town staff, we proposed the silt socks during the duration of construction. So it was kind of belts and suspenders for the duration. And then once that's stabilized, there'll be no issue at that 3-to-1 slope. But that maintains the existing drainage patterns that are currently out there, and water makes its way right to the wetlands as they do today.
So
What
John's,
are the contours on that?
What was the question?
I'm sorry, what are the contour intervals on that? Is that 1 foot or 2 foot?
1 foot contours, and they're at 3-to-1.
so I'll
that-
revise my, sorry,
and
go
that-
ahead, Jeff.
I was just going to say that was also in coordinating to where the existing grade was at the property line, and where we were going to connect to the proposed sidewalk for the other development, and also spanning the bridge and maintaining that 2 feet of separation over top of it to avoid any sort of permanent impacts to the wetlands. So basically we were just catching up to grade. If we drop it lower to match existing grades, then we're talking about more permanent impacts, and we felt that that wasn't appropriate here.
I just wanted to say I'll revise my motion to say that it's not likely, if it's constructed as proposed, it's not likely to have significant impacts, provided that ENS controls and the slope stabilizations are implemented as they are planned to be implemented.
Yep, and but just to put some ease to that too, part of what we have to do as we move forward through the DEEP is we have to go out and inspect the erosion control measures pretty much weekly through that reporting process, and any deficiencies in silt fence that come down or anything that doesn't look right, we have to report that to the DEP, and the contractor has to come up with a remedy for that within 24 hours of us reporting it. So there are some fail safes through that process where we can ensure those stay up through the duration.
Okay. Any other questions or comments or
I'll
changes to the
second
motion?
I'll second Michael's motion as is.
Okay. Any other comments on the motion? No. So if you are opposed, please speak up now. Otherwise, we'll assume or we'll take it as a unanimous vote.
Can I just read what I've written to
Oh.
make sure, or have someone else read it?
Yes. Yeah.
Just,
I'll go ahead. Sorry.
and yeah, I didn't have a chance to proof it, but okay. So it was, who, I need to know who moved it and who seconded it.
Michael.
That was, I moved and Quentin seconded.
Okay, I'll let you read it, Michael.
Okay. Soares moved, Quentin seconded, or Kessel seconded that the sidewalk extensions as proposed will not have a significant impact on the wetlands, provided that, I would say, provided that appropriate erosion and sedimentation controls, including slope stabilization, are installed prior to construction, maintained during construction, and removed when the site is completely stabilized. I think that captures it, yes.
Okay, now everyone voted
Yes. That was
and it was unanimous.
It was a unanimous vote, yeah.
Great. Well, standard, Jeff and Sarah and Chase, we'll see you on August 1st.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
If not sooner.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
You can never tell.
Right.
Bye.
All right. All right.
All right. Okay, so let's go back up to item 1626, which is application of J. Dewey BL Companies for an inland wetland license for mixed-use development.
That,
No, gosh, I'm sorry. We're at D. Dorward again on B.
Yep.
Just trying to keep you on your toes. For a 2-lot subdivision on the east side of Wormwood Hill Road at property owned by the Dorward family, parcel ID 27-70 or .71.7. Sorry about that.
Let me share my the site plan. Give me a minute. So this is a 2-lot re-subdivision. This is it's the second phase of the Mulwood East subdivision that is along Wormwood Hill Road, south of Mulberry Road.
Did you want to share your screen, Jen?
Yes,
You
I'm
okay.
getting the
Okay.
I'm getting there.
So I wasn't sure.
All right, so normally this would not come to the commission or to the Inland Wetlands Agency, but because it's a subdivision, it's required. So what they're doing is they're put the closest activity to everything is outside the upland review area except for the footing drain, which I can blow this up a little bit. Which is right here, and that's 75 feet to the edge of wetlands. They're showing it's going to be it's going to drain or outlet to a depression with riprap. There'll be erosion and sedimentation controls during the construction, but again, it's a pretty small impact, pretty far away from the wetlands.
Can I ask, because I'm not familiar, like, are footing drains like this just a standard part of building a home?
Well, I see them a lot, so I would say yes, but I'm not an engineer or a construction professional.
And we have seen these on site visits to conservation easement areas quite frequently as well.
Yeah, and I think that's what brought it up for me is I don't think I have one associated with my house or any house I've ever lived in. And so I just started thinking about, I understand their purpose. I guess I do have one. It's actually a sump pump that pushes it out into my front yard, but not towards the back. And I'm just curious how standard or how typical these are. Makes sense why they do them.
On most new subdivisions, I see them, especially if if the property slopes, if water's, my property goes up, so I don't think that I would have one, but this one the water flows probably through the basement. So it's just to keep the water away from the foundation and basement, I would think, but I'm not sure.
They've seemed to be, or where they are pretty much outside of the upland review area entirely, with the exception of this footing drain.
They are,
So,
yeah.
That's pretty minimal.
So just for clarification, this is a proposal, a building proposal, is that correct? A site plan that doesn't exist yet, right? And
Correct.
it's only for this lot of the 2 lots, correct?
So it's a 2-lot re-subdivision. This is remaining land from the Mullwood East, phase 1 property that was owned by the Dorwart Family Trust. Those of you who've been around for a while would be familiar with that subdivision. But so what they're proposing is just 2 lots. The remaining lot will not be developed at this point. David Dorwart, he has a number of his own conservation easements. And so he's saying that this is for conservation purposes. So if he were to come back, he would have to, I'm not sure if he'd have to go, I'd have to look at the regulations, but he'd have to at least come back before you to get approval. And there's a lot more wetlands on this property than on this property.
Yeah, and the slope's a little.
Not from you, from the planning and zoning commission.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't show the original, but I think the inset map shows a line across the property.
Yeah.
That was the original two.
Yeah, it's
and
right.
Initially, one of the lots was basically the wetland. Right?
What do you mean?
Well, no, just the way, like there was a diagonal line going the other way across this subdivision. They're reproposing a new one, right?
I'm
I'm
not
not
sure.
sure. What do you mean? I'm not sure what you mean, Will.
No, I'm just saying that like the other subdivision, like the way it was subdivided was like one of the lots was basically the wetland and one of them was basically the hill slope. And now they're choosing to cut across it. So I'm just an observation, like they are leaving more hill slope to be developed eventually.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. That's their right, I guess. They've got frontage, which they do, and they've got, a high and dry area. They can certainly petition for that. Yeah.
I'm guessing it will be subdivided.
Yeah, I think so too. But with respect to the one that we're here to talk about, I really don't have any issues with that. So I don't know if anybody make any kind of motion, if anybody's interested in any kind of outrageous motion. How about you, Will? You want to make a motion?
Well, no, I was just gonna, I moved that we are okay with this. I mean, they're not dry. I mean, that, like Jennifer said, there is one part of the drain that may be within 100 feet, right? And they're not drawing sedimentation controls around that, right?
I think it's that standard. I'm going to speak for Will, or just translate what he said. We are okay with it, meaning, like the other one. It's minimal work in the upland review area that's not likely to have a significant impact, provided that ENS and all of that is implemented correctly.
Nice.
It's just boilerplate.
John, can you say that again? It broke up a bit.
Just boilerplate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. So Jennifer, I'm concerned, not concerned, I'm curious, wrong word. Why wouldn't something small like this just go through agent approval?
Because per the regulations, all subdivisions need to go to the agency.
Okay, gotcha.
And then all agency approvals, applications need to go to the Conservation Commission.
I gotcha, okay.
So, yeah, trust me, I would have loved to just. So we met, moved, who seconded?
Who seconded? Who wants to second?
John.
Well,
Yes.
and can I just clarify one thing? Like it comes to us because of the subdivision, not because of the proposed
Yeah.
of the proposed building footings. So
Right.
we're discussing that drain, but that drain may not be what actually gets proposed when the house is
Well,
built.
no, it's gonna be, that will be
Yeah,
proposed. but
That will
changed.
be, okay.
Yeah, unless they take it out, but if there's any more, additional
Yeah.
impact, they either have to come for a modification
Got it.
or, yeah. What happens though is someone builds a subdivision and sometimes they change it a little bit, right? Or they have a subdivision and then they go to build a lot and that gets changed. So that, that just happens when someone buys a piece of property. All right, so here's can you see the motion? Are you looking at that?
Nope.
No.
What are you
Move
looking
it to your Microsoft. It's right now. We see the PDF.
We see the plan right now.
All right, let me here. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay.
Will, do you want to read it?
Oh, sure. We met, moves, Salander seconded that the regulated activities associated with the Mullwood East Phase 2 subdivision as proposed will not have a significant negative impact on the wetlands, provided that appropriate erosion and sedimentation controls are installed prior to construction, maintained during construction, and removed when the site is completely stabilized.
And I just added, it's actually a re-subdivision.
Re-subdivision.
Okay. Jennifer, I like that those three pieces, under the ENS, that it's very clear.
That's the standard one I did.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, that's Chad right there.
that's great. That's great.
All right.
Okay. Oh, we should vote. Is anybody opposed to this? Please speak up. If you don't speak up, we will take your vote as a in favor vote, and we will pass this unanimously. Anyone in opposition? Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Silently and unanimously. Thank you, everybody. It's always good when we have applicants at a meeting and we have people asking and making comments. I think that always makes for a stronger motion ultimately. So I appreciate everybody speaking to a lot of those different applications. Item 6, reports from members. Do we have any reports from our members? Anybody? It's the 50th year for the Connecticut, the Inland Wetlands Watercourses Act. There have been some interesting sort of celebratory webinars and things like that. I don't know if anybody's gotten to those. They've had them about maybe once a month or so. Nothing earth shattering or mind shattering, but they're kind of interesting. And anything else, folks?
Okay, so your next meeting will be on August 17th. You're gonna have that 106 Stores, I keep calling it 106 Stores Road, the Toast property. How are folks feeling about meeting remote versus in person?
I'm ready to meet in person, but I'm not going to push the issue. But I'm flexible. I'm happy with either.
I just
What?
That really didn't sound good.
I couldn't hear you. What'd you say, Aaron? Didn't hear you.
I guess we should meet in person.
Will anybody not be here on August 17th?
Yes, I will still be in Michigan, John.
Okay.
Why don't we wait till this? Well, my preference is to wait till the summer. It is. I
Till
think
September, you mean?
I'm gonna wait till the fall. That way, our department can get a little staffed up. Because if I have to run a hybrid meeting, it's a lot more work. So, and per the new Public Act, we have to allow that option. So in August, you may have an applicant and a consultant presenting to you remotely. Just because, and that actually, I feel like that works out best in a lot of ways, because I feel like people can see the materials better. I don't know how you feel about that, but
That is true. Yeah, we do see the materials better on
yeah.
a
And
remote
it's
meeting.
also saves money for, for that. period.
Travel and all that sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, that gets pricey, it makes
Okay.
applications pricey.
Yes.
So my preference, selfishly, I guess, if I have to run a hybrid meeting, I don't have staff right now to do that. So I'd rather do it in September.
I'm good with that. I think you do enough work, Jennifer. We shouldn't put more on your plate.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that.
Jennifer, when will a new town, whatever it is, Linda's replacement be named?
I don't, so the application closed on July 8th. So I don't know, but it's going to be a while because, whoever they hire, there's just gonna be a lot of shifting around, or someone will have to give their notice, or, all that stuff, trained. So I think we're in this till the 2020, early 2023. That's what I'm prepared for.
Yikes.
And I'm just curious, what other
drinking a lot more coffee.
what other staff positions are also vacant right now? You're saying you're short staff.
Well, it's just, it will really depend on how this all plays out. So it's just gonna be a matter of getting, once they hire someone, if it's external candidate, it's gonna be like, I would say 8 weeks before they start, by the time they give notice. And
Yeah.
I mean, Linda gave, I think 2 or 3 months notice. So, but she was, she went above and beyond for sure. So, and then getting that person trained and comfortable and all of that stuff. So will be a little while.
How are you enjoying it? Or not enjoying it? Or no comment, I guess.
I like it. It's a lot. I mean, I'm doing two jobs. So, but you triage, you do the best you can. And I am so lucky to have Jolene Woodmansey and Sandy. They are two excellent staff. They really do a great job. So thank goodness for them, because I wouldn't be able to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, you were doing at least 2 jobs before. So now you've got director of planning and zoning and what you were already doing before. So I just want to make sure everybody heard me that only John spoke up that he wouldn't be here on the 17th. Everybody else thinks they'd be able to attend on August 17th.
I'll be not in the area, but I'll be able to log in.
Okay, great.
And just to clarify, I'll be in Michigan, but I can join remotely.
All right. And Quentin, I just want to follow up with you about that meeting. Am I correct that is your last meeting as a commissioner?
Yes, my appointment runs through August.
Okay. Yeah, 30 days to change your mind. We'll beg you to change your mind. Okay.
Thank you, but no thanks.
Okay. Well, thanks for that update on. I was going to ask about under future meetings. I was going to ask about in-person or remote meetings. So I'm glad we got that sorted out. So there are no communications. There's no sort of agent approvals or anything like that, Jennifer.
There have been, and you will get a 2-month report at your next meeting, but I did not get a chance to do it.
All right, no, that's fine.
And Michael, can I just say one thing? So you didn't want to report on the conservation easement monitoring discussion. Are we trying to schedule more? Or are we trying to plan for what to do first before we schedule more?
That's a good question. We did not plan anything for June, or we didn't have meetings. We could put something together before our next meeting. I'll admit for myself, it'll be challenging to get out there, but if other people are available, we could try to do another visit in early August. or if we'd rather just wait till September. If Erin's shaking her head already, I'm disinclined to do it because she's the hub of the whole operation. So, no offense, Will and John, but
Well, I mean, part of the reason for the slope is the summer's hard to do this, right? It's all vegetated, so.
well, that's it. I mean, some sites are not too hard, but in general, people are busy and sites are harder to get through.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I almost think that our August meeting is going to be kind of a longish meeting already. So maybe we're talking about the easements more in September, but we can at least try to select a weekend for our next easement monitoring at our August meeting.
Yeah, like we could do one like late August and the beginning of September. So maybe, maybe let's just schedule it at our next meeting.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. But yeah, we should then just sort of talk about the monitoring and I don't know if we, anyway, we'll get to it next time.
Yeah.
I think that's all I have. That's all we have in our agenda. It is 8:31. We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Several motions to adjourn. We're adjourned. It's good to see you all. We'll see you all in person at some point, and hope we can see you all again in a few weeks.
See you then.
Thank you,
James.
Michael.
Thank you, James. I'm glad you got whatever the word is, you got approved, and you're here on the commission. So welcome.
Yeah, got a signed letter.
Oh, there you go.
Frame it.
You can't back out now.
Jennifer, how
That's
much
right.
time do you
Right, you're in. What's that?
Jennifer, how much time do you need for like planning for those easement monitoring? Like a couple weeks?
Yeah,
But you might need more now because you're doing 2 jobs.
yeah, so I'm gonna stop recording because I think the meeting's adjourned, but